Hey, Bryce, it's a rainy Saturday. It's a rainy Saturday afternoon. It's the day after Black Friday. Thanksgiving is over. We're barreling towards Christmas as fast as we can. I'm so full of turkey and turkey-related products. What better time to have a Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select? I'm Jeff.
This is the first Rage Select podcast where we're napping. We're in a nap stance. Because of eating.
Yes.
We ate so much. I am Bryce.
How was your Thanksgiving, Bryce?
It was good. It was good. We did some marbles in the evening. We did some Thanksgiving marbles, and had dinner. We'd already had a friend's Thanksgiving event sort of last week, so it's just kind of a nice quiet evening in. That's just what I've just needed that the past couple of days. Just a nice day in.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting all caught up on my dumb. I got myself into a JRPG, and I'm now too far in to stop. I'm like 40 hours in, and it's like there's only 10 hours left to go. I gotta finish this motherfucker.
Which one?
Tales of Arise.
I've seen that. I've seen about that. Clearly you're, well, maybe not, but I'm assuming you're liking it.
No, I really liked it. It had a good start. Like it wasn't as slow in the beginning, and I liked the combat system, and I liked all this stuff. I think it's just like, it doesn't matter what the game is. It doesn't matter how good the game is. Anything that is more than like 25 hours, I start to just drift, and I have to really like force myself. Like, I don't dislike the characters. I don't dislike the story. I thought for a minute that it was going to end on a weird JRPG cliffhanger like Final Fantasy VII Part 1, but I don't think that's the case. But I don't know. I like it. I kind of want to try out like that Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out, and that looks kind of interesting. I don't know. I need to stop fooling myself. I'm not going to play JRPGs.
But I mean, you are in the, I don't know. Recent history tells me the opposite. I don't know. What is it that's keeping you hooked in? Just because you need to see the end of the story still, or is it tactile? Is it a good tactile experience? Is it engaging you? Like what's the hook? What's the hook?
Well, what I liked about it in the beginning was that it did a whole bunch of stuff that it didn't do the things that I don't like about JRPGs. It got going super fast. The characters, the dialogue was not incredibly overwritten. The combat system relies on you doing direct input, so it feels a lot more like engaging, even though it's a little button jammy, and it doesn't require the biggest mental investment, but it's really tactile, and it's got a lot of hit a button and then a little cutscene plays, and it looks really dynamic. And for me, I guess it's just that I think it's just a matter of length. I think it's just a matter of I feel like every JRPG I've ever played, there comes a point about 2/3 of the way through where my brain just goes, stop! You can't play the same game for this long. So, but I think I'm going to plow through it. And then, I don't know, I think I got maybe one more JRPG left in me this year. So, actually over this break, I've been catching up on a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff. And I wanted to say I watched that Last Night in Soho, the Edgar Wright movie that's got Anna Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith. And it's kind of like this girl who's going to fashion school, but when she goes to sleep, she kind of has this hallucinations about this woman in the 60s that wanted to be a singer, and it's an Edgar Wright joint, and it was really good. It was like a really solid movie. I was glad to not, it wasn't a superhero movie. It wasn't a sequel. It wasn't nostalgia baiting me with something that I had already known. It had a banger of a soundtrack, the way that a lot of Edgar Wright movies do. It had some really, really good, cinematography. There were some really nice visual tricks where they're in the past and they're in this super mod 60s clubs, and it's like Anna Taylor-Joy is walking down steps, but then you see this other girl in the reflection of the mirror to the side, and some just really cool stuff like that. And it was just a real fun to be hey, there's no caveats here. This is just a good meat and potatoes movie, good to watch. So
nice.
Yeah. What about you? Have you watched anything? I know there's like the bajillion. There's 1 bajillion things out right now.
Yeah, we are slowly making our way through Squid Game on the Cord Killers program, and I've been enjoying that. The other weird that's like a very good show, I would say. I think it's a very good show. We are also at the same time going back and watching selected episodes of Miami Vice because there are like crazy celebrity cameos in Miami Vice, and so it's this weird juxtaposition of like Squid Game, which is this like very intense, kind of surreal mystery of a story with all these action set pieces, and then you have Miami Vice, which is so like corny but so like earnest, and it's very weird watching these at the same time, Jeff.
No, I can imagine. It sounds. I mean, it just sounds like a huge shock, right? A huge flip flop between the two of them. Yeah.
But then I don't know. But then I don't know. Also watching Miami Vice every week, I go like, that was actually more nuanced. I mean, not the most like perfect script, but that was way more nuanced of a story than I expected. More intricate, story. It wasn't as cookie cutter as maybe we sort of look back at that time as.
Okay. So would you recommend watching Miami Vice to people?
Oh God, not really. It's not very easy to do. I think like if you have Stars, you can watch it, but other than that, you have to watch it with a ton of ads, and also it's they're hour-long episodes that really probably did not need to be an hour. That it was such a big blockbuster of a show, such a big expensive cinematic show, that they would just have these really long sequences and set pieces, and it's some of that stuff doesn't hold up. If you throw it on in the background, you'll probably be fine. But it's not you're not gonna have a Miami Vice night, I don't think.
Okay. That kind of reminds me. I just as a brief note, I don't know if anybody really cares, but I don't think I'm going to be giving an assessment of that Cowboy Bebop show, because I tried watching it and like I came to the conclusion 2/3 of the way through the third episode that like I'm a finite person who's going to die someday, and I fucking hate this. And there's like 10 episodes, and I am not going to force myself to watch 10 like 45-minute episodes of a show that I absolutely hate. I loathe what they've done there, and it's a lot of it is because I love Cowboy Bebop the anime so much, and it's just like I don't understand why they've made some of the changes that they've made. But it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work at all for me. I don't know. All the tone is wrong and the characters are wrong, and I don't get it.
Yeah. There's a weird math that goes on when it comes to reviving an IP like this, right? You hope that you can signal to fans of the original material who have given it such a good reputation that you're going to make them happy with the adaptation that you do. But at the same time, the whole point of an adaptation is to change it, and you're either changing it in meaningfully different ways, in which case you would need to be very particular about what existing fans think, but maybe not so much for newcomers, or you don't make very many material changes to try to keep it safer to the original material.
Right.
But then you're always going to have trouble with the diehard fans who really care about it. And if you're looking for the mainstream audience, they kind of just go in knowing like, oh yeah, this is a name that I've heard a long time. Maybe this is a way that I'll watch it. It's half brownie points and half like PR. It's a very weird thing. I watched the first episode and I felt like, the feeling I had, Jeff, when I was watching the first episode was, if this was animated, this would probably be pretty cool. But for whatever reason, just it being in live action seemed really just kind of chintzy. The lighting is very, very green screeny, and some of the costume design would work well. It's it feels realistic to the original cartoon design, but you design for cartoon differently than you design for live action, and I kind of wish that they had been a little bolder in being a little more original in its look, because there are just a lot of I kept getting freaked out because everyone was looking like pretty much right at the camera, and I could only assume that was because they wanted these angles that looked a lot like the original anime.
Have you seen the original anime?
I've seen some of it. I've seen most of it through I grew up watching it on Toonami, so I'm sure I've seen most of it. But I like it. I'm not a diehard, so I guess that's why I kind of have this middling so reaction to it. Because Tom Merritt, who has never seen the original anime, he really liked the show. He thought it was this is a paraphrase because Tom would never say any of these words. Tom thought it was ballin' as hell. Like, he was into it.
Okay. I mean, and it's entirely possible. Like, there's no. It's like when I was talking about Dune a few months back, and it's just like there is no way for me to have an objective opinion about this because I've watched Cowboy Bebop over and over again. It's one of my favorite animes. And so. It's like whenever you go watch a movie and you've already read the book and you're just like, why did you change all of this? It was fine. Why didn't you just do exactly what was there? So yeah, it's possible that somebody who's never watched the show might actually like it, but I like I feel like the music was mixed wrong, and like I just didn't understand why they changed certain characters in certain ways. But anywho, well. We got a lot of news this week, and we have a lot of news. So I figured this week we're going to start with some great news, some wonderful news, let's go. Let's do this. One big happy story to start the week. Well, I guess happy for people who like Hitman and Hitman related products. Yes, exactly.
Good people of the world.
They announced that they announced the Hitman Year 2 kind of initiative, which it looks like is going to be better than Year 1, which was the stupid 7 Deadly Sins. I gave them my $30. I think I played 2 of those. It did not work for me at all.
Clever, but expensive for what those ended up being.
Yeah. So they said that they had this little announcement video where they said that Hitman 3 has been like the best selling Hitman, and they kind of announced like what they're going to be doing moving forward. The big things for January of 2022 is ray tracing on the PC version, not necessarily on the console versions. The VR mode is coming to the PC versions, which was previously a PlayStation exclusive. And then something called Elusive Target Arcade, which I'm hoping is just a way to... The elusive targets were so restrictive. It's like, man, I don't want to log in every week. And, there was a point, I think it was like in Hitman 2 when they just gave you... Like, you could just go try playing all the elusive targets from, like, the first Hitman or something. There was something along those lines. And I did do a bunch of those because it was like, oh, I could just do these on my terms. I don't have to, like, wait, or I don't have to schedule, getting on Hitman to do this. Which I think is really good. And then there's going to be new maps. They showed a little teaser of like this kind of house in the forest for spring 2022. And like, yes, this is what all us Hitman people wanted. We wanted new maps. I don't want escalations. I don't want elusive targets. I don't want sniper mode. I just want I would cash in every other thing that they like. I would cash in the entire 7 Deadly Sins season for one small new map.
Yeah, yeah, probably. And it's especially there's especially hunger for it just because so much of Hitman 3 is a great game, but so much of the mapping is designed to finish that story.
Yeah.
You know, like you really can't do anything with the last map of the game, just because how narrow it's you know. Man, yeah, I'm excited for more maps, and this is hopefully we get more than one. Maybe hopefully we get a couple of maps, a few maps even.
Yeah, I definitely hope so. Quit giving me outfits and like different items that are also a remote explosive. Like, I don't know, Bryce. Somebody who doesn't play Hitman may not understand this, but like the number of things where the development team is like, and here's a pen that's also an explosive, and it's like, guys, you developed this game. I don't use explosives to kill people. Like, that's the loudest, brassiest way to kill people. I'll throw a screwdriver in somebody's eye before I use an explosive.
Explosives get used a lot in speed running. There are a good number of ways to rig up different explosive devices so that you can specifically take out people. That's where a lot of that comes in. Similar with there's a silenced SMG, and that is used a lot in the speedrunning community because it's very quick to cock and aim and then hide. And that gets used for distractions and stuff. So there are use cases, but there are a lot of the duck. There's a lot of the explosive duck.
Yeah,
different flavors of duck.
I feel like in Hitman 1 it was all the the audio distraction tools, and it was like, I don't know. I never really used those all that much, but yeah, the one thing that I'm really curious about though is I was talking with some folks. I mean, for anybody that hasn't played Hitman 3, you alluded to it, but I'm kind of curious to know, like, where do we slot these maps in? Are they like post end game, like Diana and 47 are getting back out there doing stuff? Because there's not really a place during the map progression of Hitman 3 to put anything. Like, it would be really weird to put a map between even the first two levels. You know, there's like a very clear story flow that goes from Dubai to the English level, and then it's like you immediately need to go to Berlin to sort out what's going on from there, and then you need to go to Chongqing to sort out the results of that. Like, it very much flows from one map to another, as opposed to like the just good afternoon 47, today you'll be murdering person X. So
but I think I agree, and I don't think that there's anything weird about making it after the events of Hitman 3.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, unless the ending that I'm thinking of that game is set up only in specific ways that you end that game, I think you could just boop, hey, we're doing that again.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the game, they kind of set up for like, all right, let's get back to work. Let's go out and kill a bunch of people in crazy places. So yeah,
right. This is so weird. I don't know how much of this is spoilers and how much like the story spoilers won't bother anybody because the story's so weird. But that's all anyway. Yeah, I don't know. We can. There's space to just throw these at the end, tack them on.
Yeah, it would definitely, though. It would need to be post. Because like Hitman 2's last few missions and then the DLC from there, those all flow in a way where you wouldn't want to like slot something between them.
Or do an arc, right? Like, you know, they did Patient Zero. Like, do a little arc of like, hey, you got to get this guy, and he's going through these 3 new maps.
Just don't make it the constant. Don't bring back the constant. Don't make it or the constant. Oh no, not the constant again. I dealt with that motherfucker for 3 games. Yeah. So this is exciting. I'm really happy. This is all I wanted out of Hitman, was more Hitman, and finally. So okay, that was the good news. Let's go back into the gaming news pit that is Activision Blizzard and all of this stuff. So last week, We had the news that it kind of came out from this Wall Street Journal story that Bobby Kotick was aware of some of the stuff that was happening, kind of had a bigger hand in some of the response from Activision, even though kind of at the time he was kind of pleading a certain amount of ignorance. This has led, I mean, as I said last week, I will say again, I am not a fan of Bobby Kotick for years before any of this stuff came out. Like, I'm not a fan of Bobby Kotick, the person, and the way that he has run Activision for the last few years. However, this has led to kind of a question about, like, last week we had the kind of the board of Activision had said that they planned on standing behind Kotick and keeping him in charge, and now it appears that at least there was a Wall Street Journal article that said that he had raised the possibility of leaving. This apparently is not. This is just kind of talking at the moment. But while that's, I don't know. Well, that's a thing that's kind of led to this workplace responsibility committee that Activision has created, which appears to be, if I'm reading all these correctly, because it starts to get a little complicated, this is going to be an organization that sits between the board and Kotick, who basically like lays out a roadmap for getting Activision into compliance with what they say they want to do, the zero tolerance policy for, bad behavior and all that different stuff. And then they will essentially evaluate how well Activision is doing this and then report back to the board of directors, so that it isn't like, I don't know. I've seen some kind of ridicule about this. I really want your input on this, Bryce, because you always have a good take on this sort of stuff. But I think it's an interesting idea because I actually looked up I looked at the press release for this, and this committee is being helmed by 3 people. The first 2 that they've announced are women. One is Dawn Ostroff, who is basically like, she was on she worked for Spotify, she worked for Condé Nast, which raised some weird red flags. She seems to be a little bit more of like a kind of a corporate person. Like, her whole background is kind of running various corporate divisions of different corporate places. Like, she's got a whole Wikipedia page you can look at. I tried to see, this gets, we're like so far going off in this one direction, but like the fact that she worked for Condé Nast made me wonder whether she was hired as somebody who then did damage control on the Bon Appetit stuff that happened with Condé Nast. It does not appear so. Right. She appears to be more closely related to making a few movies under the Condé Nast brand and shows that seemed like they were more closely linked to GQ than anything related to Bon Appetit. The other person on this director is Ravetta Bowers, who appears, from what I was able to find, to be basically like kind of a professional board member. Appears to be an African-American woman that was graduated with some kind of educational business stuff that appears to just be on a lot of different boards for schools, and then also stuff kind of like this, like discrimination. Like, apparently she's worked for some California anti-discrimination, kind of women, making sure that women aren't getting messed up in the workplace boards and stuff like that. There's a lot going on here, but apparently I think that when I looked at these 2, neither of these people set off any red flags about just like, these are corporate yes men or yes women that have been installed to essentially rubber stamp anything that Kotick does to the board of directors. And then there's a third person that they have not announced yet. So that's what happened last week. Bryce, weigh in here. Tell me what you're thinking.
So this is really kind of difficult it's kind of really difficult, Jeff. You know, the question of will Bobby Kotick resign or not? I think there are small groups of investors who are interested in that, but I don't think it ends up not being some overwhelming amount of stakeholders who are pushing that charge. And I think, you know, to be honest, if I was Bobby Kotick, I would probably have a very convincing argument that, well, getting rid of me is not going to solve all of these problems. You know, there are some people who would feel okay about some version of getting rid of me, but that's not going to solve the problems at Activision Blizzard. If you're interested in real change, that won't solve the problems. And even if you're just looking for a quick and efficient PR success, just getting rid of Bobby Kotick won't solve anything either. And so, you know, I don't know enough about the way that this company is organized to say if a committee like this will be effective, what they'll be able to even do at all. But you would hope more oversight is better than less.
Yeah.
And I think that's all you can do. I think it's going to be a lot of hands-on evaluation of who is in that company, the things that have gone on in that company, and what is and isn't acceptable, and holding everybody to account. I was on the Activision Blizzard newsroom here, and there's a press release from Bobby Kotick from like a week and a half ago. And one of the things he says in here is, we are moving forward with a new zero tolerance policy, and zero means zero. Well, does zero mean zero, or does zero mean almost everybody gets zero tolerance? Because
Yep.
Where does the buck stop?
Yep. No, I think it's this is kind of one of those things. I was sorry with somebody about this a little earlier this week, where this I feel like is kind of one of those things where it reminds me a lot of like whenever we get into these stories about companies dealing with China, where it's like your company statement says like, this is an inclusive place for great people to work and we're 100% behind our employees, we love our employees, all that nonsense that you get on all the corporate stuff. And it's like, okay, now it's time for you to basically make the decision about what do you care more about. Is it the bottom line, or is it taking care of your employees? Because you're now in a position where you kind of have to weight one of those higher than the other, and that it's now also public that no matter what you do, we're going to see what the end result is. It's not something where you can eventually just NDA us and we'll never, people outside of Activision Blizzard will never know, and anybody inside will be threatened with termination if they say anything. It's all kind of out in the open, and that's why I don't know. Like I do not like Bobby Kotick, and I'm not even a big fan of Activision in general at this point. I'm not even a big fan of Blizzard. Blizzard's had nothing but thing after thing over the last 2 years of just like, Overwatch and Warcraft 3 remake and the China stuff. But it does seem like Activision might have gotten to the point now where it's like, we can't make this go away with press releases. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what this workplace responsibility committee is. I'm really interested in knowing about, like, will these changes make a difference? Does Activision in a year look better than it does now? Like, I guess I'm less interested in. There's a certain amount of like online outrage, shake your fist, Bobby Kotick's a monster, go fuck yourself. I kind of just wonder, like, what is the path to make Activision a place where the stuff that we know about doesn't happen, and make it a good place to work moving forward. So
I would like to. This is part of the trouble of not feeling like I'm very clued in with Activision or Blizzard stuff, but
Yeah.
I would like to know what the employees want.
Yeah.
I would want to know what would make them feel like that they are in a workplace that is safe, that is up to standard. In what ways it's deficient, and I think that gets very tough when it's a very big company like this. I don't know how you get that message out. I think about like the Netflix thing from a few weeks ago with the walkout. Like the employees had a very specific set of like, this is generally how we feel, and these are the things we'd like to see. These are the ways we would like to see funding for these sorts of material and this sorts of labeling or tagging or what have you. And it will probably take. It's real serious. Like it's a very serious issue, and it will take a long time to get people comfortable even talking about what their boundaries are, when you would hope that there's a basic bottom line, but clearly there hasn't been even that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, one of the other stories that came out this week was that 1,000 of the workers at Activision Blizzard signed a petition where they said they wanted Bobby Kotick to be ousted. They had no confidence in them as leadership. Now, as near as I can tell, at least from this story, this is a Polygon story. There's a point in here where they mentioned that, Activision Blizzard has like 10,000 employees. So this is about a tenth of those employees. But I mean, at this point, like, I don't my I don't care if Activision continues to make $1 gajillion, and I really don't give a shit whether. I mean, like, if Activision Blizzard closed tomorrow and none of the games that they made were available for me to play forever, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because currently it's just Call of Duty and a bunch of Blizzard remakes of video games. I mean, what's on the horizon for Blizzard is like what Diablo 4, Diablo on phones, Overwatch 2. Like, I'm over it, man. Like, there's a million companies making cool games, so like I don't have any kind of intrinsic desire to say, wow, I really hope that Activision, or not from that perspective. Like, I want Activision to be a good company to work for. But if the games went away, I wouldn't care. So, like, if ousting Bobby Kotick meant that they didn't make as much money, and the fact they didn't make as much money meant that Call of Duty Warzone didn't get as many updates, I don't care if that happens. Like, I'm much more on the side of like, I want the people to be treated right. And actually, I was thinking while you were talking, it should be noted that ABK group did a little while back put out a list of asks that it was like, and one of them actually happened. Like, I think that a couple weeks back they announced that they were going to end forced arbitration, but then they also wanted to have like more transparency with pay, and kind of like a seat at the table with the decisions about who gets hired and stuff like that. There were 4 points that they had, and they were all relatively reasonable, but who knows whether they'll actually get any traction on that. But yeah, ABK said they got 1,000 signatures on a petition. That's nice. I don't think that outside of the board of directors, I don't think a petition is going to make Bobby Kotick leave. I think it's the board of directors that will make Bobby Kotick leave. But if they start losing talent, I mean, like, Ubisoft has been losing a lot of talent recently, because once a studio gets so toxic, a lot of times your best people are just like, well, fuck this. I can go work somewhere better where I don't have to put up with this nonsense week after week.
I wonder how much of that has been steeled by, I mean, the past couple of years of Activision Blizzard layoffs. I mean, it was not that long ago, all we were talking about were these sudden layoffs, right, at Activision Blizzard. And so maybe that's already, I don't know. That's I don't know what you do with that, right?
Yeah.
How many people are so deeply ingrained that they are not affected by these issues, think that they're not a part of the issues, or maybe are successfully ingrained in those behaviors. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. And just like last week, I want to be clear. I was talking last week about how, like, I have had corporate jobs in the past, but I have never ever drank the Kool-Aid. No, that's not true. I did once when I was younger, and I worked for Dell here in Austin, and I was like, what a great company full of wonderful people. I love this place. And then it was just like, yeah, right, but the company doesn't love you, and if they need to, lay you off and or fire you and or screw you out of advancement opportunities, they will do that, and nobody's going to blink an eye about it. So part of me is maybe not qualified to talk on this because I do not understand the emotional loyalty to a company. Like, if a company acted shitty like this, I think the first thing I would do is polish up my resume and start shopping it around to other places and be like, get me out of here. There's nothing to keep me here. But then I just don't have that same mindset of like, we're all friends and we go out after work and then it's a big family and we love each other. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure this is such a big company that I think if you're thinking, well, why don't the employees just go, make their own studio, publish their own thing? I'm sure working at Activision Blizzard means that it's very clear what you can and cannot do post working there in terms of, next games that you work on, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many years can you work on a shooter game after you leave a Call of Duty studio? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
non-competes. The
non-competes.
answer's not 0. Yeah.
I forgot about non-competes. I fucking hate non-competes. That shit should be illegal. Well, one of the we have a few more things here. One of the last things is that apparently so I think last week I talked about there was a PlayStation executive that kind of put out a like, this saddens us and we don't like it, kind of about this all the stuff that's happening. This week, Phil Spencer talked to Bloomberg and said that he was disturbed, deeply troubled by horrific events and actions. But there was another part of this where they said they're evaluating all aspects of our relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments. There was also a kind of similar messaging from Doug Bowser at Nintendo, saying, I find these accounts distressing and disturbing. They run counter to my values, as well as Nintendo's beliefs, values, and policies. Now, whether the question, of course, is like, it's all well and good to, it is good. Like, it's not, this is not sarcasm. It is good to kind of back up that this is not something, to condemn this sort of behavior and to make it clear that this is not what you want. On the other hand, like, if you really want to make it clear, then like renegotiating your contract, Activision Blizzard games on your platform, that's a real action. But I mean, I think if anybody was going to do it, it would maybe be Nintendo, because like none of the Call of Duty games have been on the Switch. The last one, I believe, was Ghosts on the Wii U. And they do get like the Diablo remake was on the Switch. So there's some Blizzard stuff that's on there. But like World of Warcraft isn't on there. I think Overwatch is. But like Nintendo could probably afford, well, plus Nintendo's a big juggernaut anyway. They're not relying on Call of Duty sales to sell Switches. So they could probably get away with doing it. But like if the Xbox like delisted Warzone off of their store, sure. I don't think that's going to happen, but I just can't see a situation where that would actually happen. But
yeah, I'm surprised to see that these emails happened. Because generally I don't think of the platform holders as people who get involved in really any cultural news element of games. I think I still have thoughts about their silence during things like Gamergate.
Right.
So this is I think this is more a sign of the tides that things are not looking good. Things are looking like they're not going to be good for Activision Blizzard for a long time. And even Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo need to let their own shareholders know we're not so wrapped up into their whole thing that we can't cut and run whatever we need to.
Right.
And I think it's pretty much just that. I don't think that this is like we need to find justice or make a good. I think this is mostly just like our own house is in order, just so everybody knows. We will get our own house in as much order as we need to not be a part of this.
Fair enough. Let's see. And then finally, I don't know, this is more of a transition story than anything else. It was part of this Wall Street Journal. This is on the Wall Street Journal podcast. I didn't know such a thing existed. Apparently, though, there's a story here that there was an Activision employee that for years signed his emails as 1-800-ALLCOCK, like in all uppercase, and that apparently it took quite a while for anything to happen there, and then when it did, there was like a months-long investigation, and they finally fired the guy. But this is one of these. Bryce, this is one of these stories where I'm just like, I don't understand how the person that did this thought they could do it, and I don't understand how, like, the first time you saw that, your manager wasn't like, Steve, you can't fucking put 1-800-ALLCOCK as your auto signature on your emails. Put your name. We have a policy. Put your name at the bottom of your emails. Like, I just don't understand this. Some of these stories, it's so weird to me to think, like, how lax was your corporate environment? Because I don't know. And then also how the people that worked in these environments thought that this shit was a good idea. Like, you know, I don't think this is like, oh, attitudes have changed in the 2021. Like, I was in a corporate office in the 90s, right? And I wouldn't have signed my email 1-800-ALLCOCK. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
There's an interesting part of the story, which I believe is just a part of the podcast itself, kind of describing how, like, masculine the studio where this took place is. Like,
yeah.
You know, you are mixing like they say in this transcript, you know, very nerdy people with gun loving people who are into guns, who get into physics, and there's I don't know, she describes it as a very, I guess, natural pathway of masculinity in a studio like this, and that can be that sort of culture could get very, very normalized, I suppose, if you have a hip office, right? A new techie office. Oh, well, it's cool. Very, very few. I clearly do not have all the words needed to describe this, but it's.
I wonder.
Imagine, yeah.
What I really wonder. I mean, I guess it's different from, right now a lot of people are working from home and stuff like that. But, like, I really am curious to know how many people that work in an office, how much booze there is, because to me the idea of getting drunk at work or drinking at work, or even like drinking with coworkers in the building that I do my work in, is like horrifying to me. Like, the idea that you would not have a direct delineation between like I'm not opposed to, like, we're all going to go to the bar. Do you want to come to the bar? But the idea that it's like, hey, it's Friday and it's 2 p.m. We brought a keg. Everybody come down to the break room. Let's have a beer and hang out. It's like, I worked for Microsoft, and they used to do that, where it was like on Friday at noon, kind of everybody would knock off and they had beers in the break room. And I was never really interested in. It just never seemed like, I mean, nothing good ever happens when you get wasted. Why would you want to do that at a place that pays the money that you use to live and pay your rent and stuff? It just seems like a bad equation to me. But maybe it's just because I'm both a lush and a lightweight. And
yeah, I have heard that across all of kind of the elements of the game industry, alcohol tends to be a very prominent element, and that can be lead to inappropriateness, to misconduct, to harassment, and that's a broader. I mean, that's an even broader thing to aim at.
Yeah. All right. Well, then from there, let's get to a little bit easier going video game stories. Battlefield 2042 is broken as hell. Oh, it's so broken. It's interesting. I thought, what was the other one this year that was broken as hell? It was like a full on AAA game that was super broken. I don't remember.
Cyberpunk.
No.
GTA.
Oh no, it's the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Whereas one of these things where like, I don't remember. I don't know if it's working from home or what the problem is, but like, man, this new Battlefield apparently is really, really jerked up to the point where they're saying they're doing an update. They're going to do they're going to do 2 to 3 updates this year. They did one on Thanksgiving that was supposed to change some of the hit markers and some of the bullet spread, because that's apparently been absolutely ridiculous. And they're looking to fix more things moving forward. Bryce, I doubt you haven't played Battlefield 2042, have you?
No, are you correct? No, I'm not.
But like, this is one of these things where I don't
how
understand.
bad. Are we? Is this like Cyberpunk bad? Like crashing and fucking not working?
Let me tell you a few things, and you could tell me how bad it seems. This is a thing that was known at the time. Apparently, though, they've talked about bringing back, like, there is no scoreboard. Like, you can't look at the scoreboard.
It's like, how do you tell the score of what happens when you hit tab? Okay.
Yeah.
There's no scoreboard. Okay.
When you're not in the Portal game mode, there isn't a server browser to browse the servers. You just kind of connect and you get randomly connected to a thing.
Okay.
This was reported a little while back, but like, this game didn't launch with voice comms. There are no voice comms in the 128 player multiplayer team based action military game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this is a budget game. This is a small. They just couldn't. This is one of the smaller games. This is not a lot of people play these. No one's really heard of Dice.
Right. It's an indie studio. Yeah. No. There is a thing that we've seen online where they don't have collision on some buildings, and so people in these large city maps are just taking their helicopter and like going into a building to hide from people because there are buildings and they don't have collision, and you just go boop into the side, and there you go. So that's a thing.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So this game has some problems.
Yeah. There was a YouTuber out there that created this video called Hit Reg. Let me make sure that I properly attribute this is from Jack Frags, who did kind of an interesting experiment where he basically created like a private server, and then he filled it with bots, so it wasn't a lag thing. And what he would find was that in a multiplayer game, when you shoot somebody and it makes a different noise, or you get the little hit registration things. Well, what he shows here is that it's like, as more and more characters get on the screen and he tries to shoot them, like, it's very spotty whether it'll even register that these bots have been hit. Like, sometimes it does. You can see in this video there'll be like a little it'll be like some little diagonal lines that come off of the like that when that's indicating that you're hitting somebody. But there are a bunch of times in here where, like, if you've got a lot of smoke, if you've got a lot of other characters, and these are all bots in an area that, like, literally you could be pointing at a character, zoomed in on them, and that, like, it just doesn't register that you're actually hitting them with the bullets. This seems to be happening at random.
And listener, this might sound like someone spending a college education to describe why they are missing somebody in this video game.
Right.
But these are pretty clear. There's a lot of pretty clear shots that are not having those hash marks.
Right.
Like, this is not just it's not just a get good thing. Like, this is actually a real thing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So there's a lot, and it makes you wonder, like, what in the world? This is Battlefield, man. Like, I mean, I know that Battlefield 4 had problems, but the thing is that this game has no single player, so it's all online. So if the online is jerked up, that's the only thing there is to play. And, like, you know, I guess maybe they haven't learned the lessons of, like, if you put out an online multiplayer shooter and the shooting is broken, well, that's no good. This is no good. I mean, this is, like, now one of the lowest scored. I'm actually really surprised. I think this is an interesting thing. The user score for Battlefield 2042 on the PS5 on Metacritic is 3. On the Xbox, it's 2.4. What I'm curious about is how pre-release critical, how the critical score for it is higher, and I think it may be like it because the critical score are 68 and 64 between the PlayStation and the Xbox version, and it makes me wonder, like, how it was even, like, was this being an online multiplayer game, like, giving this to critics ahead of time? Or, I don't know, maybe the bigger question is this, right? How much do bugs factor into your final score when you're scoring a video game? Because bugs can be fixed. And if you fix the bugs, if the core game is messed up, bad, but then if you've just got bugs and once the bugs are fixed you're going to be fine, that's good, but then there's no way to know before you put out a review whether the bugs will be fixed. Like, I feel like Cyberpunk had a lot of good reviews, and I think a lot of it was predicated on this will get fixed eventually,
right? A lot of times there can be a dialogue between reviewers and the press that organize sending out codes, such that they say, like, hey, is this going to be fixed or not? Like, it's sometimes, that is to say, sometimes that happens and reviews go out knowing, like, this will probably be fixed, especially because, like, fucking day one patches are a very common thing here. I mean, the GTA game, clearly they were working on a day one patch that was a couple of weeks late. And so I think that's some of what it is. And also, like, how many critic reviews are there right now? There's 11. Like, there's not a lot of reviews. And there's not a ton of reviews out for this game, I would say, either.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that, you know, you look at the user reviews and they're like 10, 0, 8, 1. Like, I
very polarized.
Yeah. I hate that shit, because then all it ends up being is, like, I don't know, how close can you get it to the middle? But I do think that it's interesting. It does bring up some questions about, like, if a game is broken when you're evaluating it and the publisher says it's going to be fixed eventually, you know, I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is the reason that we should just not use number scores, because it's like, you need to explain to the person, like, there might be a good game in here, but you probably shouldn't buy it the day it comes out, because right now it's a mess, and you should probably beware and, like, look at coverage online to see what it's like, instead of running out day one to buy it and then ending up. But actually, you know, it's funny because Battlefield 2042, if you buy the EA Play Pass for it's like $5 a month, you get a 10-hour demo of Battlefield 2042 without buying it. Like you just download it, play it for 10 hours. That's how I did it for Rage Select, because I was like, I'm not going to play this after I'm done with it. But that's a better deal than pre-ordering it, because you wasted $5, but you saved 65 in this case. So I don't know. We'll see if these patches that they have, if they implement some of these features back in. It's just always a good question about, like, just how did this happen?
I mean, it has to be an annualization, right? It's got to be like, we've got a deadline. It's the holiday season. We need the shooter game to be out. We will put it out now, and we will fix it before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think that there's that's got to be the same. Yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about GTA in a minute, but
yeah. Well, no, and it's also interesting to know. I mean, it's also an interesting note on this is, I sit here saying outrage, saying boo, go to hell, you released a broken game. But we know from the numbers that Cyberpunk had the pre-order stuff launched broken, obviously broken, fucked up broken, right? Offered people universal refunds and still made $1 gajillion. Like, they sold a broken game on marketing, and even though they literally offered people the ability to get their money back, people they just didn't do it, and they bought this broken game. They were disappointed. They didn't get their money back. So, like, if that's how it's going to be, then what is the incentive to try to not do this? Because you've already shown that, like, the internet will be mad, your Metacritic score will be low, but nobody will actually refund the game, and apparently it's not going to damage your reputation that much moving forward, because in 3 years you'll fix this in 8 months, and then 3 years later, when the next Battlefield is slated to come out, people will be like, oh, I don't even remember that the last one was terrible. Like, put more Battlefield in my veins because I love Battlefield so much. So, or
hey, that last one, they fixed it. Like,
right.
Like, I think we are kind of, I think we look at No Man's Sky and say, oh man, they No Man's Sky'd this, and because I think that there's a lot of value in being known as that, right? As someone who's really kept your game up, even if it didn't launch as expected.
Yeah.
And I think that's just more and more becoming a part of the live service of just digital games, not even live service games, but just the fact that you can update games. Like, that's always going to be a part of what we're doing now.
Yep, I agree. Well, Battlefield 2042 isn't the only multiplayer game having problems, because Halo Infinite is still the Halo Infinite launched their multiplayer mode, which is kind of free to play. They've got a battle pass. They just got their first event, which was this Fracture Tenrai event that you get the samurai armor for doing. So it's like, okay, they have a battle pass track, they have a paid battle pass track, and then they have an event battle pass track to get all the stuff. Apparently the biggest problem here is that I don't really know exactly how this is working. I tried to narrow it down as much as I can, but apparently I think that what it is that you have a series of challenges that come up that is like, do X thing, kill 10 guys with the shotgun, or, win 3 matches in a row, or stuff like that. I don't even know if those are real things, because I was just trying to figure it out. It was hard. And so players are a little upset that, like, you're doing these goals one at a time instead of kind of overall contributing like XP to a battle pass, kind of the way you would in like Fortnite, is that you're completing objectives in order to move that pass forward. They've also talked about, I didn't actually understand this, but you see, Bryce, on this here, where it's like some of these are cosmetic, but then some of these are what they call challenge swaps, that are literally like items that you can use to switch out one of the challenges in your current challenge set for a different challenge. And it's like,
there's a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, the good thing is that 343 says that they're looking at it and they're working on it. And they want to get it to a point where it's not like onerous, that it's like Fortnite, like it's an achievement. You're getting it and you're like, yay, I did it. I got another piece of armor. I got this new shader. I got this new cosmetic, because none of this affects the way that Halo plays. Obviously, it's just like, what spiffy armor do you have? But it's off to a little bit of a rocky start. It kind of seems like they maybe should have started a little bit more gregariously, like getting people into it by giving them a lot of like stuff up front, making it feel really good to unlock a bunch of stuff, and then like as it goes forward, it gets harder and harder down the line.
It's not easy to balance a battle pass. Like I played Apex for a little while, and I felt like that battle pass was similarly onerous, or maybe that wasn't the battle pass, that was just the way you unlocked cosmetics. But it would be like, for this one hero, you can show this one stat, like very weird, very specific small things. You know, reading in the story about, you know, getting one shoulder pad, and you have to wait to get the other shoulder pad another time.
Right.
I think you can. Some of this is not an issue if the game is fun and worth playing through all of this work.
Right.
But it doesn't help when, like, a buddy of mine I saw on Twitter was saying, like, yeah, I would love to get this challenge, but I have to play a game mode and I can't pick the game mode. So when you let me play this game mode, I can do this challenge, but you won't let me pick the game mode. So like that gets very difficult. You have to pick one. I mean, I think they need to pick one or the other, right? You either want challenges that take a while to unlock and they're kind of substantial when you unlock them, or do you want them to be a little more grindy and it's quicker to go through these different levels because there's more chaff there to say.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Hopefully they get it worked out. And then last but not least, before we take a break, speaking, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Rockstar has apologized for some of the issues with the GTA Definitive Edition and said that they're going to be working on it and that they are bringing back the original Grand Theft Auto the 3 PC versions, which they had delisted in order to make this happen. Yeah.
And hey, they're going to be on the Rockstar store.
Yeah.
On the Rockstar store.
Yeah.
Jiminy.
Yeah. This whole thing. Well, also the fact that they sued a bunch of mod makers off of the mod places, so you can't like go get the original version and then mod it to make it look really good anymore.
Can't do that.
I'm wondering if I get the feeling, Bryce, tell me what you think. I get the feeling that nothing will be done with this, that this crappy version of Grand Theft Auto 3, the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition, Grand Theft Auto 3 Definitive Edition, they will do some small things, but that it's mostly going to remain a big flaming pile of garbage, that they just cashed in their cash in and then move on to the next thing and never really fix it.
Yeah, I expect that they will fix the more egregious things, like some of the text being completely gibberish in some cases, to, you know, I'm sure you've seen the thing where there's like a big lug nut part of a building that in the Definitive Edition has been completely smoothed out. So it's like weird. I think those very specific things will get fixed, and then they will move on. I think that there's the only thing that I see this as is better repositioning of those games for future generations of consoles.
Yeah.
I mean, this is built on top of the mobile game, which is built on top of older versions. Like, that's all that this is. It's like, yeah, much like the Final Fantasy ports that we've been seeing. Like, that is to put those games in an engine where they can last a little bit longer.
Yep. Yeah. In some ways, it might actually be better just to have. I mean, I guess one of the things that they don't have, which I feel like you might want from something that is this kind of pixel, like, you know, they didn't do any work on it, right? Like, it's just the old games that have been run through like an upscaler and stuff like that. They did some work, but like, I guess if I wanted anything, it would be like, can you give us the button to go back to the old graphics? Can you give us that switch back to the old assets button like we've seen in some of these remasters that are just one-to-one, right? So there's no reason why you couldn't just say, like, let me look at it the way that it used to be, because at this point I think that it might be preferable to the weird versions that we have now. Like, just let me use the new controls on the old games. That's all I really care about.
Watching Eurogamer has some good technical coverage of how these games perform, and looking at the Nintendo Switch versions, all of which run at like sub 720p, it actually looks better being blurry and kind of running like crap. Like, I hate to be that guy, but it does look a little bit better when it just looks a little crappier when the resolution's lower, because that's what those games are made for. I think when you really put a lot of polish and shine on
PlayStation 2 graphics
versions, you like, of course the faces look dumb. Like, they're not meant to look good. You can make them look too nice. So but there are still so many things that are just like, there's no fog, and there was no fucking fog in this game. Like, what? Like,
the LA smog isn't there. The rain is all messed up. Right.
I think you step out of the house at Grove Street in San Andreas, and you can see the mountain off in the distance. You could just see it because there's not atmosphere even.
Right.
It's I mean, look at this. Doesn't this look at least this looks a little better by being blurry, right? Just a little bit.
Maybe we could
admit it a little bit.
Maybe we could get the PC version. We could do that thing where you just like process every frame through a mosaic filter to make it look like it's pixels, like chunky pixels from an older console. We just like, can we run it through the pixel crapifier in order to make it look worse? Because you're right. It does look a little better, a little blurrier, and a little crappier here or there. I don't know. This just goes back to just general Jeff 101 nonsense, which is just like, I don't want to play Grand Theft Auto 3. Like, I don't want to play it anymore. Like, I want to go backwards. There are 1 billion great games out right now, and the last thing in the world that I want to do is go back and play goddamn Vice City. Like, I played it when it came out. It was fun and I liked it, but my nostalgia has been catered to the point where I don't want to go backwards ever again. I want to go forwards into new cool stuff, and I don't want to go backwards. I want to play that chorus game or Shin Megami Tensei 5 or something new rather than this. So,
but I think that the enduring legacy of these games is almost like as a utility, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know I played a ton of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in middle school or high school, and it wasn't because I thought the story was particularly great, or I just had this was the game where you could drive around, and if you wanted to kill people, you could kill people and blow stuff up. Like I think that there's such a base utility out of this game, as like, this is just a game where they just let you fucking kill people, and this is the one of them. Everyone else tried to make it justified or whatever, but this is just the one, so just get this. And so I think that there's still some value in seeing that through these original games. But you're right, like, even nowadays, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 is on everything. That game has been around for the 10 years.
Three generations. 3 generations of consoles that Grand Theft Auto 5 is on. And
so,
wait, yeah. Anyway, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break. We still have more news to go, but we're going to get back to that in just a minute. So stick around. And yes, we have more news. Apparently, we were talking about a lot of different online games with online problems. And if you're talking about online games with online problems, apparently you can't not mention New World, which continues to have online problems. Apparently, the most recent thing that happened is that they went to go give out some gold to people for the problems that had happened during off time and taxes. And this game is complicated, and I have no interest in it. But apparently, they gave a whole bunch of people too much money, which those people immediately turned around to use to buy trade goods to put into the economy, which then kind of like jerked up the whole economy. And then the only way they could figure out to fix it was they had to turn everything off and revert like several hours back and take away, because it like apparently this game has a really complicated in-game economy, and so like if something gets messed up, it could really cause like a kind of cascading financial disaster throughout a server. And so they basically just they just reverted back to several hours ahead of time, removing all the progress that players had over that time. This is actually not the first time this has happened with New World, because of how complicated apparently all the different economies in the game are. Have you tried New World, Bryce?
No, no, I've not, and I'm not gonna. I have heard that did New World previously have an issue that they couldn't fix, because they were not at that time able to roll back their servers. Like they've upgraded their ability to fix this game, and they're still finding ways to mess it up. Oy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I keep seeing stories about this, and it just appears that, well, I guess one of the bigger things was it you and I that were talking, or it might have been somebody else I was talking to, where it was like, this is an Amazon game and you don't have enough servers, and you literally run the fucking AWS, like the internet's backbone of server rentals, and you don't have enough servers, and how is this possible? Yeah, it's someday there will be a day when Amazon manages to put together a gaming product, and it is not a large pile of crap that either doesn't work, gets turned off, or has a lot of problems. But apparently that day is not today.
Not today.
Yeah. Let's see. From here, speaking of Amazon, apparently Amazon Studios is nearing completion of a deal to make a Mass Effect TV series. This is in addition to, what do they got? They've got the Lord of the Rings thing that they're making, and they've got that Wheel of Time show that apparently is getting some pretty good reviews. But yeah, apparently they're looking to make a Mass Effect TV show. I don't know. That seems like it. I mean, I guess it could be good. Is kind of the whole core of Mass Effect, like the ability of you to make your own characters and craft the universe in a way that lines up with like how you want to play your Shepard.
Sure. Is this? I wonder if this is. Maybe this isn't live action.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, could be. I mean, it doesn't really. There's not a lot of details in this article announcing it.
That would be interesting. I think it would be interesting to see them do like a CG Mass Effect thing, because you're right. Like the story feels like it's so specific to being a game where you have decisions. I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not into. I don't know much about Mass Effect, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. What it reminds me of right now is that I watched a couple episodes of that Arcane thing, the League of Legends.
Oh, how was that?
It was really good. Like I think I'm gonna keep watching it. But I don't know. We'll come back to League a little bit later. But it seems like the way that Riot Forge has gone about it is they've just taken a lot of the money that they have and have just been like, hey, independent thing, entity that knows how to do stuff, would you like a big chunk of money to make a thing that says League of Legends on it? Right. As opposed to trying to kind of control it. I don't know. I often wonder if how popular Mass Effect still is. Like, I guess I wonder what like the sales were on the definitive, not the definitive, but whatever the remaster that they put out was. Personally speaking, I mean, I'm a real curmudgeon today, but it's like I'm kind of over Mass Effect. Like Andromeda, I think the end of 3 and Andromeda kind of both got me into a place. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where I'm kind of over Lord of the Rings, and if I never saw, like, oh, we're making a Lord of the Rings show, and it's like, okay, why? I don't care all that much about that, but
and yeah, no, we talked about it earlier, but if you give people a new story, then you'll get some people interested in some new canon. If you hit the same story, then you kind of have something that's got a bit of a good reputation and kind of a story arc already built into it. And it'll be interesting to see what this looks like.
Yeah, it's a big enough universe that, I mean, they could tell just a different story, and I'd rather see that than them trying to like go back and redo the game story. Let's see. In other pissing people off news, we got some more news about Chris Pratt as Mario in the Mario Brothers movie that's being made. This is in an interview with 2Fab. I've never heard it before. One of the co-producers talked about how Chris Pratt's Mario voice is amazing. They confirmed that they're not going to be trying to kind of lean on Charles Martinet's rendition of Mario. They even said that they're going to cover in the movie why he doesn't have an Italian accent. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I was never as incensed about this whole Chris Pratt thing as it seems like the internet was, but then I didn't care that Sonic had teeth either, so I don't know.
It's better that he doesn't have teeth. This will be very strange, because this will be the next big chapter in like video game movies. Like, if this works, this movie with like a bunch of stars in it, maybe we will see more of this as we get a sense of what people's comfort is with not using all of the game voices, or making 90 minutes out of a Mario game, which generally only has about 10 minutes of story all told.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I tell you what, though, what makes more sense is we also got the news this week that Kojima Productions is opening a new division that is going to be focused on like making film and television projects, which when I read this, I think that my immediate response was just like, I can't believe it's taken so long. Like, Kojima obviously wants to make films. He's such a film nerd that like it kind of is weird to me that I feel like it's taken this long to get to a point where they would be making specific like film and television projects as opposed to just games. I don't know. I'm all in with Kojima and his particular brand of stupid wackiness. So wasn't he in? He was like in one of the Nicholas Reffen's. It was an episode of a show, or it was like,
oh, maybe
he was in something.
An Amazon show a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think it was that.
This will be interesting, because I wonder how clearly Kojima are able to make gorgeous visuals. I wonder if this is them saying, we're going to make our own, webisodes. Is this them saying we're going to go do contract work and do CG for whatever other film and TV needs are out there? I wouldn't expect them to come out the gate making a feature film, but I bet they will make webisodes or something. Maybe they will make for Netflix a 90-minute, 2-hour version of Death Stranding that you can watch on Netflix, or who knows. Like, there's a lot of hunger for weird interactive ideas in media right now.
I just see Death Stranding Netflix show. It's like season 1 is 3 episodes to walk over here. Just what was that Matt Damon movie where it was about the guy stuck in the desert, or it's just them walking? It was like a Lars von Trier thing. Jerry, is that what I was thinking of? It was like the story of those It's like two guys, and they broke down in the middle of nowhere, and they tried to just walk through the desert. It's I don't know. It's this movie where like it's just Matt Damon and it was like Casey Affleck walking for like 2 hours, and a lot of it is just them walking with no dialogue. Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Gus Van Sant, not Lars von Trier. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this will be it's strange because we know Kojima loves Hollywood and he loves famous, actors and directors. Maybe this is a way. Maybe this is also a way to like reciprocate with some of those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, like Kojima Studios will direct an episode of some anthology thing you're working on or some series. Like, I don't know, maybe that's what this is. Or it could be anything. Like this is the cool thing about it being Kojima is it could be anything. This could be anything.
It could be just 90 minutes of pontificating about the ideas of humanity with Norman Reedus. Let's see. In other big money news, Roblox is suing a YouTuber for $1.6 million. I'll be honest before I start saying things about this that like I am not the biggest. I don't even really understand Roblox, to be perfectly honest, but I did take a look. So the story here is that there's a YouTuber named Ruben Sim that I went and looked at their YouTube channel. I watched like half of one video and like a little bit of another video, and it appears that what their whole thing is I'll tell you what this reminds me of. You remember how Club Penguin was like a thing for children that turned into this like horrible cesspool of like internet racists and like sexual content and this sort of thing. This guy appears to be a troll that is like going into Roblox and doing like gross stuff. And like one of the I guess the video that I watched was him like they had turned on voice chat and they found one of the Roblox developers and he was just yelling at them and like riling people up to go yell at them. It seems like the sort of thing where, as near as I can tell, this is the deal. The people who make Roblox, they want this to be a cool interactive space for children to come and play games and like hang out with each other and make games, because there's a whole game creation thing in Roblox, etc. But as always happens, what you have is kind of internet shit poster, shock jock YouTube guy that wants to come in and do audacious, not safe for work, not safe for children stuff inside of Roblox. And apparently Roblox has like banned him, and he makes new accounts and he keeps coming back in, and he's been like yelling at developers, and he's got a real crude sense of humor, and they're just like, we don't want you here. And so they're suing him in a California court for $1.6 million in damages and to stop harassing Roblox employees and players. Yeah, this guy does not seem like a cool guy. Like from his YouTube channel, he seems like kind of an annoying jerk off. But also, this is the internet, and it was kind of built on annoying jerk offs in a lot of ways. I don't know what to do here. Like, see, here's some of the things that are in the lawsuit. Is that there was that 2018 there was a shooter at the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California, and they're like taunting and saying that somebody should copycat that at the Roblox headquarters in San Mateo. Attempted to upload a nude image of himself with only a lampshade covering his genitals, using racial and homophobic slurs, creating and using inappropriate accounts with sexual names, attempting to upload a sex game, attempting to upload pictures of Hitler. Like, I'm not out here like advocating for this guy. I'm just kind of curious to know. This brings up an interesting question that I feel like comes up from time to time, which is like, if you want somebody to not be on your service and that person is dedicated to making a shit out of themselves on your service, like what lengths do you go to try to get them off of your service? Because, you know, they banned him every time he tries to come back with a sock puppet account or with a new account or whatever, but the guy just keeps coming and he keeps trying to make stuff. And like, I think that when I looked up his YouTube channel that he had videos like, you know, recently, like over the last couple of weeks. So in fact, here I can pull up his YouTube channel and see a month ago, I guess, is the last one. But yeah, it's a strange thing. I don't know anything about Roblox, so I can't, it's hard to say for sure, but it seems...
Right. I mean, I guess a restraining order, because there are some of those are, I don't know, between the death threats things and uploading pornography. I hope that they can kind of put this away without giving this YouTuber more attention. It seems like they're a pretty popular channel, all things considered, but that's not good to be like that, and it is good for Roblox to be proactive in saying like, hey, dog, we are making a space for kids. Get the fuck off.
Yeah. It's really weird. I don't understand Roblox, so I'm just go with that. Let's see. Other lawsuit news. Sony is being sued by a PlayStation employee for wrongful termination. This is a suit that was filed on November 22nd. And basically a lot of the stuff that's being... this is from an IT security analyst named Emma. I don't know if this is Majao or Mao, or it's Majo is their last name. And they're suing the company for gender discrimination, harassment, wrongful termination. A lot of the stuff that we hear in here, I feel like lines up with a lot of kind of the things that we've been seeing. Like women are not taken seriously in the video game industry or at video game companies. Like part of the suit says that they had to like get a guy to go pass along messages, because if they tried to email people, nobody would respond. But if they like filtered their messages through like one of their male coworkers, that then they could get action on stuff. They said that there are separate processes for men and women as far as like promotion within the company goes, and that it also sounds like a case of somebody who was just like, hey, who internally was saying like, hey, this is fucked up, and then got like shunted to the side and kind of labeled as like a quote unquote like a problem employee, and that, you know, was never able to get any kind of promotion or any kind of movement. There's not a lot more details on this because the lawsuit literally just got filed, but yeah. No good. No,
it's yeah. Oof.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens here, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen this same story happen a lot, and again, I'm I'm going to come out with a real brave stance of being like, no, that's bad. I don't like it. Don't treat people as second-class employees because they're women. Boo. No.
bold stances here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's awful. I hope she gets justice.
Yep. Me too. Seems a little weird, but there's also some other PlayStation stories this week. I don't know if I want to exactly pivot directly, but Sony published a patent that was initially filed in November 2020 and has finally been granted. I don't know why it took this long to get granted in November 16th for basically what appears to be new panel covers for the PlayStation 5. This would line up with the idea that Sony recently made a real stink with dbrand. Like they brought some action against dbrand to stop selling third-party faceplates for the PS5. I actually bought dbrand black faceplates for my PS5. But yeah, it appears that they might be making some official new colors and patterns and stuff for the PS5.
I'm very surprised it took them this long to do this. Because it meant that during all that dbrand stuff, they had to focus on dbrand using like the PlayStation button icons.
Yeah,
like it almost feels like someone forgot to do this. Maybe someone didn't think that they needed to patent the one thing that connects it here. I don't know. It's very strange because it's not like this is them saying that they own all faceplates, right? This is a very specific one for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Which has been out for over a year now. Like,
I just wonder why it says here in this article that, it was filed in November of 2020, which was around when the PlayStation came out, but it was only granted like November 16th of this year. And I'm wondering, like, what the hell could take a year to process for like pieces of plastic for the console? I don't know.
For patents, I guess for it does take a long time for patents to go through, but I don't remember that being a part of the dbrand thing. Like they would have said like we have a patent pending on that, or maybe I'm misremembering the whole thing. I'm sure someone will email you and remind you what the reality of the situation was.
Yeah, it was very strange, because it also makes me wonder whether like did they bring that action against dbrand just to remove a competitor from the space? Like, I know that sometimes, there have been some, because dbrand still sells PS5 covers. It's just they had to redo the edges so it doesn't exactly match the shape of the initial PS5 side plates.
Fins.
Yeah. And they also put a hole on the side, vents for the fans. But like, I know that in some cases, I know that I've run across things in copyright law where like, if you don't vigorously defend your copyright for certain things, then you can just kind of be like, if you allow people to break your copyright, it'll like reduces your ability to then go to court and like stop people from doing that. But
that's like, that's a trademark thing. It's yeah, kinda, but I don't know. It's dumb all around. Sony shouldn't really have done anything about it anyway. They should have just made their own faceplates and let people do these.
Yeah, I agree. Have you, Bryce, as a PS5 owner, have you considered getting a new plate, a new casing for your PS5?
No, I like the black and white. I don't know. I think it makes it look like a little race car to me. I like the black and white.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Finally, in other PlayStation news, Avengers. We got the Spider-Man for the Avengers. Finally, we got the announcement that it was coming out. One of the things, though, one of the questions that wasn't answered was like all the rest of the different new characters had their own storylines. Hawkeye and Kate Bishop and Black Panther all had their own storylines. Will Spider-Man have his own storyline? And the answer is no, he will not. And I don't know. They said that they're not doing any narrative content. They're opting to instead dedicate their time to making stuff that, quote, everyone can enjoy. And it's like, hey man, like, you knew when you made this deal that you were going to make Xbox and PC people mad. I mean, you had to know when you quarantined like one of the world's most beloved superhero characters into a single platform that people were going to be mad. Don't get cold feet now. Like, put your Square Enix money where your Square Enix mouth is and make some story content. Yeah.
Do you think, okay, this is rumors and speculation corner. Jeff, do you think if Avengers did better,
yeah,
was more of a revenue stream for Square, that they would have made Spider-Man story content, or do you think that this was always going to be this way?
So I will tell you right now.
It took them a while. It took them a while for this to pop out.
Yep, I will tell you right now that from everything that I've seen from their earnings call, where they basically called Avengers a failure, to the numbers that they've gotten from like Game Pass, from the adding the experience booster, I am under the impression that in 2022, I'm going to be sitting here on the podcast with a news story that says like final update for Avengers is coming in August. And after that, they're not doing any additional ones. Work has started on Avengers 2. They're going to retool and do something different because I feel like they've been trying to make this work. And I just like, you look at the work that they put into that Wakanda expansion and it's big, but like, I haven't seen a single story. I mean, I look at the news every week and I have never seen a story that's like, oh my God, after that Wakanda thing, like revenue for Avengers is up by 200% this quarter. And like, you know, it's doing really well. It just seems like it's just been a kind of mediocre failure and that they've tried to pivot, but I feel like now what they're doing is just dumping everything out that they said they were going to do, and once we get to the end of the current roadmap, we might get one more thing, and then because whatever team is working on this has to be big, that they're gonna just they're gonna chop this team up and put them on different stuff as opposed to having them just continue to come in day out working on a game that is not doing the figures that they want, especially because Square Enix seems like they're very sensitive to games not living up to their market projections, and I can't imagine that Avengers is living up to their market projections at all.
Right. Well, and I'm sure, I'm sure there's also the fact that this is Marvel means that they have to do a certain amount of this. Like we will find whatever the minimum that Square has to do to put this game to bed.
Yeah.
And that might mean more DLC, more characters until they can get open air to do Avengers 2. Because right now I don't know how they convince people to get on board, especially if like Spider-Man doesn't have story stuff. People would buy it for story stuff for Spider-Man, I would think, right? Maybe. I don't know.
The other thing to keep in mind is the fact that, like, especially next year, we've got Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac. We've got Wolverine from Insomniac. We've got that Midnight Suns for Axis game. Ubisoft is working on something Marvel related. Beyond Two Souls, David Cage is working on something Marvel related. Like, there's a lot of Marvel stuff in the pipeline. And so, or wait, no. Ubisoft is working on a Star Wars game, not a Marvel game, but there is a lot of Marvel content in the pipeline. I would actually think what I would be really interested to know is to get a look at at Square Enix's books to find out how well Guardians returned on its investment versus how well, because with Avengers, like, they have to keep putting money into it to continue to add stuff, whereas, like, you know, Guardians is out there. Like, they worked on it, they finished it, they put it out, it sold, and, like, you know, does the return on investment for Guardians as a much smaller project that people honestly seem more excited for, is that working better for them than this ongoing games as service thing that has just never found its footing? Or at least to me, I mean, you know, like, Michael's my friend and co-host on Rage Light, and he still plays Avengers all the time. Like, he spent real money on the costumes. Like, people have done it, just not a lot of them. So,
yeah, and it could be that, like, because there haven't been a lot of Marvel. Yes, there are some Marvel games, but I think, especially in something like this live service category, this is kind of what you get for Marvel games. It's going to be this, or maybe there's some of those mobile games. But, you know, if you're really into Marvel and you really want to play a Marvel game, Avengers may have to hold you over until some of these other games come out. Or if what you want is kind of an endless live service game, well, you may have to put up with Avengers until something else comes out.
True. Very true. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether this does whether it'd be interesting. I don't know if there's a tool online that you could look at to see like the daily logins for Avengers on different platforms, but it would be interesting to see when this comes out if there's a spike and then it just do they have any gain off of Spider-Man being playable? Do people go back? Because Spider-Man, I mean, he's not going to, if he doesn't have his own story, he doesn't factor into the main storyline. It's just going to be the kind of end game raids and, boss arenas and weird red room challenges, all the nonsense that they do. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like they've kind of thrown everything at the wall. It's on Game Pass. It's everywhere. If it hasn't done it by now, I don't know that it's gonna. So,
and the next thing would be going free to play.
Yep.
Maybe.
Is it?
But then you got to sell people on battle passes.
Is it already free to? No, it's not free to play yet.
You can't. No, it's right.
I don't. It's not.
No, it's cheap though.
This might be.
No.
Oh, this is an all. Okay, this is just a story about an all access weekend. I know it's on Game Pass, so people can play it on Game Pass. But yeah, I don't think it's fully free to play yet. Let's see. Speaking of games that came out last year, apparently Cyberpunk 2077 is doing pretty good this week. A lot of this is probably due to the fact that I didn't realize this, but apparently they haven't done a sale on this game, but now they have done a sale on this game. And at $30, it's actually it's in the top half of Steam's top 10 top sellers. So, this goes back to what we were talking about before of like they've done a lot of bug fixes. They've done some stuff.
And on PC, that game can be good. That game could be probably pretty good on PC.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for, we still don't have the next gen console versions. The Xbox One and PS5 version are still not out there. And I think that for $30, that's one of those things where you could go, I don't know, let's see what all the fuss is about for $30. That's not a big ask. But yeah, now release the next gen versions. Come on, do it.
I snap bought The Witcher 3 on the PlayStation because it's like on a crazy sale. And even though I know, and I've saw the news reports like a month or two ago that the PS5 version of that game is like been delayed, but I don't know, just something about knowing. I don't know why I gave them more money, Jeff. I specifically got burnt on Cyberpunk because of the PS5 upgrades.
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Before we jump into trailers, one last thing. Epic Games apparently bought Harmonix. And this doesn't mean that Rock Band or Fuser are no longer going to have development. What it does mean, though, is that apparently Harmonix is going to be working on some of the band/concert stuff for Fortnite, which I think makes a good amount of sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Have you ever watched one of those virtual concerts?
I have not. They seem cool. I've seen clips and things, but I've never been in one of them. Have you?
No, it's all young people music. That's not like, they had some like 90s bands or I don't know. The modern music that I listen to is too indie and twee and shit for Fortnite. Nobody would put those guys on there, but
yeah. This kind of I like Harmonix. Harmonix have made some really cool things over the years, but I think it's clear that they are only able to get so much done on their own.
Yeah.
Without someone to make plastic instruments or to what have you. It's funny that they even say in this FAQ, "Are you just going to make more plastic instruments?" And they say, "We have no plans to make any more fucking plastic instruments." But another part of me is like, this is kind of like when Rare was making those Kinect games, because someone has to make games for the Kinect, and Microsoft owns Rare. So you're going to go make Avatar accessories, and you're going to make the little driver game,
Right.
because you would be great at it. You would be great at this little thing. But it's a shame because we know Harmonix can make really great big things when they have the right resources.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Epic, it's possible that being under the Epic Games umbrella might give them the resources that they need. Also, I mean, I listened to that. I don't think I've talked with you about it, but I listened to Jason Schreier's last book on audio that was just kind of a timeline of a bunch of different studios and kind of what happened to the people that worked there, and seeing how certain projects flopped that then led to people becoming indie studios or whatnot. And this is nice because it seems like one of those things where Harmonix now has a source of income to do contract work on these Fortnite concerts that can also let them have the flexibility to do other stuff. But like, I mean, I don't know. I played Fuser and it really wasn't, it wasn't for me really. It just didn't really work for me all that well. I don't know. I think.
What do you think?
I think that if you made PlayStation 5 and Xbox One versions, if you made a new Rock Band that cost $100 and came with one plastic guitar, I think you could get a lot of dumb suckers like me to do that, because I don't know where my Rock Band instruments are, and even if I did know where they were, they're probably broken or filthy or something. The problem is probably just the music licensing, right? Like, making the accessories, making the game, that's not a big deal. It's just that you have to license all of the music or else it doesn't work. So,
and with the way that Rock Band did it, with getting not just the recordings, but getting like the masters and getting the different tracks and splitting out the tracks, like that gets very time consuming, that gets very expensive. And that's where you need a very moneyed and interested party. Like, Epic obviously has the money. Do they have the interest in doing that? Is there a world, because if we're talking about Epic and we're talking about something the size of Epic, we're not just talking about what Harmonix can make on your PlayStation, but also on a computer and also on an iPod Touch.
Right.
Like they are looking at that level of involvement, and for right now, Harmonix's way to do that is making cool visuals that they've always done with music things in Fortnite, which is in all of those places.
What if they made a new Rock Band with new plastic guitars, but you play it in Fortnite? Like your avatars, you put them on a stage, and then you invite your friends to come and watch you play Rock Band online with your buddies in Fortnite, and everybody can sync their plastic controller up to a computer, an iPad, a PlayStation, and then you can put on your own concert. Ooh, maybe you could even add some of the Fuser stuff where you could have somebody dedicated to like setting off like smoke and effects and changing lighting and stuff. So it's like, yeah, bring Rock Band back, but make it happen in Fortnite so you could put on your own virtual show. And then integrate Twitch streaming into the top of it so that you could then directly stream it onto a Twitch channel so that people can watch it. And then it can get taken down because of the licensed music tracks. That
all the music stuff.
Yeah. Twitch automatically DMCAs.
But think about this, right? This opens up those concerts from being like, hey, here's a very big spectacle that you get to control the vantage point on, into, hey, the Travis Scott concert is actually, that's not a great example. Hey, the next Marshmello concert is actually its own battle royale, and so you have to get certain eliminations during a part of the song, or you've got you can make a game. You have a team that makes games attached to the non-game part of your game. So maybe they will put games in the part of that game that does not have a game.
That would be nice. That makes sense. Well, speaking of giant crossovers, our first trailer this week is Dead Cells, one of my favorite games. I love Dead Cells so much. And Dead Cells has a new update called Everyone is Here, where they've added in basically costumes and weapons from Hyperlight Drifter, Scully, Guacamelee, Hollow Knight, and Blasphemous, and then there's one more, Curse of the Dead Gods. So weird, wild stuff.
Yeah, what?
It's just like, yeah, it's a bunch of skins that go over the main character, and then a bunch of kind of themed weapons that go with it, and you could pretend to play as. I mean, I'm here for Guacamelee, if nothing else. This came out on the 22nd for the PC version, and is coming to the console versions pretty soon. But like. I think it's interesting because I think that the Dead Cells avatar has actually been in some of these other games. Like, I think that you can dress up as the Dead Cells kind of weird smokehead guy in like Scully, I think. Maybe there's like a Guacamelee thing or something. But I don't know. I like the fact that Dead Cells it's like 5 years old and they just keep adding stuff to it.
I was gonna say, I thought they were done with this game. I'm surprised that they're still making. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
this is neat. This is the sign that you are a successful indie game when you've put in costumes of other indie game characters, including Guacamelee. When was the last time they made a Guacamelee game? It might have been a couple years ago, or it might have been 30 years ago. I don't know.
It was Guacamelee 2.
For the PlayStation Vita, of course.
Let's see. That was 2018.
What?
Yep, 2018.
All right. Okay. Huh. Cool. That's
I feel like nobody even remembers that Drinkbox Studios made a Wii U game called Severed that was like chopping hands off and then you put them on your lady character.
what?
Yeah. They got a game coming out. It's supposed to be out this year. I didn't realize Nobody Saves the World was supposed to be out this year, but it's been moved apparently. Okay, early 2022. Yeah, I keep track of Drinkbox Studios.
Okay. All right. I slept on Drinkbox.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really Nobody Saves the World has been shown at a few of the indie game things. It's kind of a weird game where it's got a very different art style than the rest of their stuff, which had this very kind of cel shaded thing, but you kind of change your avatar into different characters and add different like modifiers to them, and then you kind of do this funky dungeon crawling type of thing. So yeah, can't wait for that. But let's see. From there, we got a 6-minute. This is the League of Legends fighting game. So this is interesting because last week we had 4 League of Legends games that were announced, 2 of which actually came out. There was the Airship Syndicate RPG, Curse of the Dead God that I played. There was like a kind of runner style game that came out on the Switch and the consoles, and then there was like a 2D side scroller, and then Tequila Works was making a kind of a little kid and Yeti adventure friendship game. But this week we got a 6-minute explainer on Project L, which is this fighting game that is being made with League of Legends characters. So Bryce, I don't know if you know this, but last week that whole thing was hosted by Riot Forge, which apparently, from what I can tell, did that thing that I was saying where they just went out and they found established game developers and they were like, would you like to make a League of Legends game? We will bankroll you. Do whatever the fuck you want. We want you guys to make the good game that you guys want to make, as opposed to like trying to force some studio into making something specific. Gotta say, this looks great as a fighting game. Like, the character designs are solid. They talked in this trailer about how it's going to be a team-based fighting game, so it's going to be one person and then like with an assist. And listening to them talk about it, it sounds like a lot like Skullgirls almost, in a way, just a little bit less intense, because Skullgirls has a team, kind of synergy element to it. But
yeah,
I don't know. What do you think when you see this, Bryce?
I'm not into League. I don't know it. I don't particularly um, care, and but it is there is something there, right? You don't this idea of like going to all these developers and saying just make a game about our characters, please, um, and and that being a successful strategy kind of speaks to how the enormity of League still, and so yeah, I don't know. To me, this is just very out of left field of like, hey, here are 80 characters out of nowhere, and everybody loves all of them for different reasons. So cool. Good on them. Good on them.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I should note that I think this might be actually. I think this one might be being made by a sub team at Riot.
Riot. Oh, okay.
Because I don't actually. I mean, here. Let me see if I can Google it and find out. But it seems like the previous ones were very like yeah. I think that. I think this is being made internally in Riot. I could be wrong on that, but I know that the other ones were being made very specifically by external companies that were doing. Yeah, they were all kind of playing to their own strengths. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Bryce, but that the last week, I mean, we played it for Rage Select, but there was that Ruined King game that's being made by Airship Syndicate, which is the people that made the Battle Chasers game and they made Darksiders Genesis, like, and it seems like a really solid Western RPG that kind of has a similar RPG style to like the Battle Chasers game, and it's got this really nice like comic art. Like I really feel that I've really liked the fact that Riot Games seems to be like, let's take all this money and expand this universe, but let's not like force it. Let's just like throw it at the wall and see, kind of like give it to a bunch of developers and see what sticks. Because the graphics and the story and everything in this Ruined King game look great, and like that Arcane show again is like a prequel to some of the League stuff. And I really like that too. So like, if they're just going to give money to talented production studios to make properties in their universe that are fun to play without a lot of interference, I'm willing to play them. So,
you know what? I think this is smart. Like, I think back to like TF2 and how I don't know how much character were in even those basic kind of hero based shooters, and think about how much time, how much of that universe, the TF2 universe, is like these little animated shorts or like comic books, right? When this is like this Riot strategy of we've got 1 million characters from our game, let's just make a bunch of different types of games. Like I think that's a really clever way to expand out this virtual cult of personality approach to game making.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel a little left out because I don't like League of Legends. I don't like playing it. I don't really care about Riot. But it seems like if you like that thing, then you get a lot of chances to see what could be like the next big thing. Like there's enough people who are interested in this stuff already, talking about, like IP brownie points. Like you're going to get a ton of that for something like this in a good way versus like making a live action movie.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like one of the other things I remember you talk about some of the like Team Fortress 2. The other one that always comes to mind is the Overwatch shorts. And
right, why didn't they made Overwatch spin-off games? Like,
yeah. Well, what it made me think of was the fact that Riot made a really compelling short for Valorant, which is their kind of Counter-Strike game, and it was really, they were like very solid character designs, like very easy to, kind of easy to catch into this like real broad storyline about people trying to do stuff. And I'm like, great. Now make that into a Netflix show, because I don't want to fucking play Valorant. Like, I have no interest in playing League of Legends, but I will watch a League of Legends show if it's got a good story. And so I'm happy to see them basically doing that. So yeah.
It has been more possible than ever to do this, and this is what it looks like when there's a ton of money. I mean, it makes a lot of interesting hypotheticals of like, what if this is the way media was spread back when TF2 was big, or when Counter-Strike was getting big? Like, would we have had Counter-Strike animations? Would we have had, like, I don't know. That would be interesting to think about. But we're going to see more of this, not less.
I hope so. I'm not entirely sure, though, if I want to see more of Dragon Ball Breakers. This is 11 minutes.
What?
Did you watch this, Bryce? This 11-minute explainer about this asymmetric Dragon Ball multiplayer game?
They made a Friday the 13th game with Dragon Ball, and that's really cool. I would never play a game like this because I don't care about the games like this, but they found a way to kind of make it make sense. I don't know. I thought this was neat, but I don't think I'd ever play it. Would you play this, Jeff?
Hell no. I've tried many times to get into Dragon Ball. I don't like Dragon Ball. Fortunately, I have a co-host now who loves Dragon Ball, so that they can be the one to do this stuff. But it's very weird. Of all the things that you could have done, this idea that they've got this kind of asymmetric multiplayer where you've got was like 8 people trying to get away, and they've got all these different. I started to zone out. My brain couldn't handle all of the like. Okay, so you have to get these keys, and then you've used the keys to start the portal, but then the raider can like lock down parts of the map, and he evolves, and then you've got the guy could go Super Saiyan, but only for a little while, and he could beat up the I don't know.
It's very interesting the way this is definitely a like survival, like Friday the 13th or like Dead by Daylight type of game. But the ways that they've had to kind of contort the narrative of what this is to work within Dragon Ball, right? Like, okay, you can have up to 7 survivor characters, but none of them have powers like the regular, like they even are like, the word it very specifically in the video in a way that I've never heard them describe, like, they don't have superpowers like Goku does, but they get tools, and so they have to get keys. They have to get keys to turn on a time machine because they're stuck in a void with Cell, and so Cell is the other character who's trying to kill all of these humans.
But then they can also turn into Goku and Piccolo and for brief amounts of time. And if you get all 7 Dragon Balls, then you can get the level 4 Goku.
Fight back. Yeah.
But then if Cell gets all 7 Dragon Balls, then something bad is going to happen, and you could turn into a barrel, and like, I don't. It's just it's watching it as like the ramblings of a crazy person. It's so crazy.
It's kind of a shame that this. It's kind of a shame that this is like an online multiplayer game, because I can't imagine anybody would ever want to play this. But I would like to play this once or twice. I would like to try this one time and then never again.
I think that Dragon Ball fans are so rabid that this is going to be at least a success, because I don't think it's going to capture that many people outside of Dragon Ball fans, but I think that you can sell Dragon Ball fans anything and they will purchase it. Nope. No offense, Dragon Ball fans, but like, I know how it is when you're an anime fan and you just want any game that is set in your favorite anime, and you're willing to put up with some really heinous nonsense over and over and over again. I'm looking at you, Naruto fighting games, or that One Punch Man game that was so bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's just this 11-minute video where they're going over these rules, and all the rules are so in depth, and like, you can use this thing to get around. You can have a secret map that shows you where the keys are, and I think my friend Michael is going to be very, very excited by this. I am not really, but
it's very. I mean, Shenron, like you actually can get the drag. Okay, and we don't. I can't. It's really fascinating that this thing exists.
Do you think it's going to be free to play, or do you think it's going to cost money? That'd be the real question.
Oh. I could see. I imagine they would want you to pay because I can't imagine them. Well, if they did like a season, like a battle passy thing, but a game like this, I think would be more like a Dead by Daylight, where like you pay $40 or something.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know that the characters really lend themselves to. I don't know. Maybe there's like cosmetics that they can sell. But yeah, I have a feeling they're gonna charge for this. I forgot Fall Guys was a thing, but we got the season 6 cinematic trailer for Fall Guys. It's kind of crazy. I don't really know what the theme of season 6 is, like circus kind of question mark. It mostly just seems to be complete insanity. I'm glad to see that Fall Guys is still trucking along, doing its thing, because I'm always afraid that Fall Guys is just going to get shut down at some point and be like, that was the end of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, this seems fine. I wonder if they're trying to like make the little jelly bean guys like Rabbids. I wonder if that's the plan with Fall Guys as a franchise, is do like a Rabbids, like Fall Guys go shopping, or I don't know what Rabbit games they did, but
they also appear to have a Ghost of Tsushima tie-in. Where you get the little Ghost of Tsushima outfit for your Fall Guy. Yeah. RE4 VR is getting Mercenaries mode next year. I haven't played it yet, even though I have a Quest 2. All of the indications are that everybody says that it's great. Like, it's really a fun version of RE4. And so, yeah, adding Mercenaries mode is great. This is where I saw the Meta Quest 2 as opposed to the Oculus Quest 2. So, yeah.
Yeah. This looks neat. Was Mercenaries mode already in an earlier version of RE4?
I think it was. I think RE4 had a Mercenaries mode. I can't remember, though. I never really play those all that much just because, I mean, there's one in Village, and I touched it for like, I think I loaded it, played like half of one map, and was like, yeah, I'm not in it for this. So, but Terminator Resistance, strangely, is getting some DLC. This Annihilation Line DLC, which appears to be a like team up with Kyle Reese to infiltrate a Terminator facility. I think it's interesting that Terminator Resistance is still around and is actually generating brand new story based DLC, because I kind of thought that this thing was done. Like, after they ported to next gen consoles, I kind of figured that they were done and they were going to move on to the next thing. But December 10th, 2021, this is paid single player DLC for Terminator Resistance. So
this trailer confused the shit out of me, Jeff. I didn't know that this Terminator game existed. I didn't know that this was DLC. I didn't know you could take down Terminators with pew pew guns. I felt like I was having a stroke watching this because this didn't make any sense to me. But, okay, good on you, Terminator. No, don't. I know you're looking. Oh no, he's about to do it. I shouldn't have.
Terminator Resistance came out in 2019. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if you had never heard of it, because it was real low key. Like, it came out, it was kind of a weird, like, I don't know, you had to like collect kind of trash to make new weapons, and but it's got a real cult following. Like, people liked it. I didn't care for it when we played it. I did play the PS5 version, and there was like a roguelike mode that they added where you were a Terminator that had to destroy the human resistance and find the information on John Connor to send back to kill him. But yeah, the other thing is that this is much more action packed than I remember when I played the actual game itself. And they did make Kyle Reese look kind of dippy like he does in the first one with his little weird thatched jacket or whatever, his little headband and stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. And then we got Martha is Dead has an official release date. I was curious, did you watch this one, Bryce?
I did, and I don't know why I bothered.
Not a lot going on here. Yeah. Martha's Dead, like one of those kind of psychological horror games. And then it got a release date of February 24th of next year, which is good. I remember seeing some stuff about it that looked interesting. It seems like one of those weird first person kind of wandering around horror-y kind of things. So
yeah, an amnesia like.
Yeah. And then we also got Sifu. With Sifu, we got both a trailer showing kind of the entire game system, which reminds me an awful lot of Absolver. I was kind of hoping that when they talked about this trailer, this combat system trailer, they would have explained a little bit more about how the aging process worked, because this is the one where when you die, you age up, and then the older you get, it kind of changes the way that you fight. The gameplay system here reminds me a lot of Absolver, of this kind of focused on a very kind of parry, block, dodge, one-on-one fighting system with a lot of mobility. Like they show kind of moving around the environment and picking up weapons and kind of creating open spaces for yourself. I don't know. I'm really, really excited about Sifu because I loved Absolver, and I'm curious to see what they can kind of do with it in this less abstract system than what Absolver had. But
yeah, Absolver is a great parallel for it. Like, it is very intent, very focused on hand-to-hand combat and not just mashing buttons to do combos.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that has a release date of February, because everything is February of 2022 apparently. I don't know how we'll get through February of 2022, but let's see. We also got the news that Lawn Mowing Simulator has a new expansion where you get to go to a bunch of different medieval kind of locations, and if you hit stuff, you get huge fines for running over priceless artifacts with your lawnmower. I don't believe that Lawnmower Simulator is a thing, but I don't know. It's $9 for this expansion. You get Stonehenge and a few other places to mow the lawn at. So,
okay, that's so, I've been playing Pressure Washer Simulator the past week, so I understand this. Maybe a little. I don't know how big these levels are. Maybe that might be a little steep if those levels are not very big. But okay, yeah, sure. Lawn Mowing Simulator.
I played it. They're pretty big. The levels are pretty big.
Oh,
so
okay. There you go.
Let's see. There was an NVIDIA leak a little while back, an NVIDIA database leak in September that kind of foreshadowed a potential big Sony remake, remaster, re-release this Christmas. We haven't seen anything leading up to it, but apparently this was one of those things where some musicians were on a podcast and basically didn't understand their NDAs and kind of let it slip that it looks like Chrono Cross might be getting re-released this Christmas for PlayStation. So
wow, yeah.
Um,
that would be exciting. Did you like Chrono Cross? This would be exciting. I was into Chrono Cross, man.
I never really played it. I mean, as a PS1 game, I never really got into it. So it would be nice as an opportunity to go back. I think it'd be interested though to see. I don't know. I feel like if this was a full remaster, we would have heard about it before now because they would be hyping it up more. I feel like this is probably just a up-res port. Yeah, port. If it's dropping on Christmas. If it's not, and it's coming later, then I guess, it's possible. You know what? This article makes a really good point of saying that on December 9th, we have the Game Awards, and that would maybe be something to just be like, boom, here it is. Yeah. But But yeah, tell me about Chrono Cross. I've never played it. I played Chrono Trigger, never played Chrono Cross.
Chrono Cross is cool. It is the same world as Chrono Trigger, but it is much after the events of Chrono Trigger. Very loosely connected. It is connected, but very loosely. But basically, you're this guy you're Surge. You're this young guy named Surge, and he goes to a beach one day, and what is it? He gets like hit by a wave or some energy thing happens, and it turns out he's in another version of the world where he was never born.
Oh no!
And so you're kind of jumping back and forth between worlds, and one of the big things with Chrono Cross is that there's like 70 or 80 characters that can be in your party. So you were just like doing all of these little side quests to get these other characters, and each of them bring different ways that their magic can be configured, and there's a whole system about like pooling energy and then spending that energy on different costs of magic. There's something really cool in Chrono Cross that I think could be appreciated today. That is like turn-based RPG, but not just fucking Persona and Shin Megami Tensei and the same old thing. At least, I don't know, this would be cool. This would be really cool. I would be down for this.
Cool. Let's see. We also got news. The Analog Pockets will begin shipping in the next few weeks. Apparently, the first batches will begin shipping between December 13th, around December 13th, and reaching customers between December 14th, December 30th. If you've ordered one and you're going to be out of town, apparently they also have a thing where you can delay it until the new year if you need to. But this is this really solidly built little Game Boy emulator that can do a few different things. I'm a real big fan of these kind of bespoke emulation projects that do real like kind of hardware emulation. So but yeah, it's been delayed a few times, but if you got in on the first pre-order, you should be getting those soon. There was also, this is interesting, the announcement of this Evercade VS, which is it's just a console. It's just like a little, apparently, it's a little console that takes actual cartridge-based games, that's got an HDMI port and a plug-in connector. It's kind of compact, and it looks like it's like a UK thing, because it's got like, it's $100, and then there's like these Technos arcade games and some Data East arcade games. So like, you know, Bad Dudes, Burger Time, Double Dragon, a few things. But it's one of those ones that it's a nice little system that they put together to be like, hey, do you want something that plays actual honest to God cartridges? The cool thing about this unit though is that it's got 2 cartridge slots, and that's just so that you like you could put 2 different games in, and then you don't have to like get up and switch them out. Like you could just choose which one you want to go with, which seems a little strange, but
well, so might have an idea on how to build upon that. All right. Okay. I'm having okay. Yeah. Fun. Go. Yeah. Okay. Sure, man. The people in charge of retro game IP are having one right now, Jeff. They are on one. Between this and the Intellivision thing. All right. Okay.
The Neo Geo's various offerings. Yeah.
All right, man. Atari. Fuck, man.
Yeah. Oh boy, I don't even know about some of these. I usually like to put some fun stories at the end of the week. Like this one is weird. Microsoft, like as part of their Xbox 20th anniversary thing, put out this image. This is the entirety of this story that shows kind of some of the communications about when they tried to buy Nintendo early on in the Xbox development process because they were like, well, we've got this console, but we don't have any games. Nintendo right down the street. Let's go buy Nintendo. And apparently they just got laughed out of the room by the Nintendo executives that were like, no, like, no, not at all. So yeah, if you want to try, you can read some kind of like between the lines. They put up this memo, but then they put this big text over the top that says Microsoft tries to acquire Nintendo. So you've got to kind of like read these little side things.
Yeah. I for some reason I remembered this story popping up a few months ago, so I have to imagine there's fuller information about that story. But yeah, I would love to know what that meeting really looked like, right? Like, how does Microsoft get in the room with Nintendo, and then how do they have that conversation for an hour when it's blindingly obvious to everybody that would never have happened?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I don't know. And last but not least, some guy's teaching rats to play Doom. I read through this whole article and I watched the video and I'm not sure why. I don't know why this guy is trying to teach rats how to play Doom, and they don't seem like they're very good at it. He's got this, what he calls a kind of virtual reality system where it's a rat that is sitting on top of a ball that is essentially the controller, and then in front of him is a giant screen, and the rat can kind of like turn and go forward, and I think he's just, I don't know, part of this article seemed to be that they were trying to do kind of like behavior training to be able to see if they could use something like Doom to be able to train rats to do specific tasks, like, you know, move in particular ways in order to get a kind of a feed reward. But apparently by doing this, they decided to use Doom as a way to do this, which is really weird, because you basically just have this weird video where every so often a rat manages to walk halfway down the hall of a Doom level. So
yeah. Okay.
I don't really understand why. I don't know.
I'm just going with it. I'm down for it. The Doom Slayer is canonically a mouse under there. Yeah.
That's why you never see his face, right? Under the helmet, it's just a rat on a ball, like, running around.
In the 8K game, in the next generation of games, you can see the whiskers popping out of his helmet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I usually try to pick some fun stuff for the end of the podcast thing, and there wasn't a lot of fun stuff this week. So, but that's it. That's the podcast. She is done. Bryce, tell the good people of the internet where they can find you when you're not helping me run off all this news.
Sure. I got two great places. You can follow me on Twitter at Brycas, Brycas, or you can check out the website of my new project, marbles.win. We are over halfway through our online competitive marbles racing league on Twitch. All the information's there. It's fun. It's free. If you've ever played marbles on stream, it's the exact same thing. But we do our own points. It's fun. Check it out. Marbles.win. Thank you.
Yep. Wait, you said you had two things. Was there a second one?
That was it.
Oh.
That was my Twitter.
Twitter.
Brycas.
Sorry. Woo. Sorry. It's late and I'm zoned out. Mail@rangeselect.com is the email address. Send us emails. That's it. We'll see you next time. Bye.